Welcome. As usual, we'll give it just a few moments for folks who are attending our Zoom meeting to log in, and we'll get started in just a minute or two. Thank you. I now call this meeting of the South Liberty School Board to order. Thank you very much. We're going first to our land acknowledgement, and we have a special situation here today, a special treat. Our newest employee, Scott Peacock, who is our Director of District Operations, has been studying the Lushootseed language for several years and has translated our land acknowledgement into Lushootseed and is going to share it with us in that language. Mr. Peacock.
Very close. Hello.
I can just come up to the microphone. Okay. Thank you very much. It's truly an honor to be here, both as one of the newest employees in the district, but also to read this land acknowledgement tonight. I want to say I don't usually speak Lushootseed in public. I tend to speak it with my teacher and storyteller, Lois Landgrebe from the Tulalip tribes, a Snohomish tribal member, as well as to my cat. And when I'm out on walks, talking to myself, thinking in Lushootseed. So I just am always thinking about cultural appropriation and not wanting to do that. So this is really an honor to be able to honor the indigenous people of this land and the indigeneity of this place, which is really important to me and why I study the language. So I'll read the land acknowledgement. As Gatltub ati asaf Whidbey Hal Auto. Quisas higwid ti isas ko ocha al ti a swatwatifted quas ti yalab. Godzifas to da ab chakolchi ati a Lushootseed atis taubu. Atas gajetabs, atu lelababsh, atas stahobsh, atas swadabsh, atas dolagwabsh, atas sukwabsh. Tut las leo cheat al te holch ata quaditu hak. Gwel tutlu lachob, tutlu huihui, tutlu olach. Gwel tutlu tertu tia swat watilfted. Tlas hekutuf chasti iltuf chas hachab algwa, iti kwiat hali adad, ati aswatilfted, iti holch. Gwel quota bishchalap twal was hekutuf li gwel ti igwatuf li. Ti ith atis taubuf, ati aswatilfted. At a hak was sterktus algo. At the east watilfted, the was last your just last setolk lethality Treaty of Point Elliot. Gustavus to haltem, at the east the caciaci it is salid at it tabu ce ab. At the east bequestio, at the east tlik taliaci it is salid. Olob iti chos paquachis jolts, iti tsalatsachi, iti tsalats.
Thank you very much. That's a fascinating and amazing reminder that this is a living language in this place. A reminder that this is not just an acknowledgement of who was in this land, but who is in this land. Thank you. As usual, this is a business meeting, so we will have one opportunity for public comment. If you are here in person and would like to make public comment during that time, please see Mrs. Macaro in the back. If you are in Zoom, we do have one attendee at the moment and would like to make public comment, please enter your name and your location, just a general community, in the Q&A function, and then you can start typing up your comment and I will read it during the public comment section. We will be going into executive session after this meeting to discuss the performance of a public employee. There'll be further announcement on that at the end of the meeting. Okay, are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes are approved as presented. We'll move on to our presentations, and our first one is another treat. We are welcoming a new student representative to the South Woodbury School Board, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Moshe to administer the oath of office.
Welcome, Callahan. I'm going to ask you to come over here in front of me and stand up. Raise your right hand. I'm going to turn this around for you as I have it in front of me. Raise your right hand. I,
I,
Callahan Dobmeyer,
Callahan Dobmeyer,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of Student Director
and will faithfully discharge the duties of Student Director
of the South Woodbury School District Number 206, Island County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability.
of the South Woodbury School District Number 206, Island County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. So I also want to just take the opportunity to say many thanks to our two current student board members, Katya and Carter, for doing such huge work to put together the whole election process, because this was new. And Callahan, as you know, as a board, was elected by the entire student body. So thank you for doing that work, and congratulations again.
Okay, we'll move on to our next presentation, the South Woodbury Cares Coalition and Lori Johnson. And Taylor Lass.
So, yeah, Christy has your stuff, and you're going to use the mic, and I'm assuming you're going to introduce yourself and. Sure, take mine.
Feels very awkward standing there. You didn't get it? I'm Lori Johnson.
Not a,
Lawson, I'm Taylor Lawson. I'm with Island County Public Health as the assessment supervisor.
thank you very much. And we completely understand technical difficulties. It's not a problem.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we'll shift gears a little bit.
Good idea. Thank you.
We'll come back to Lori and Taylor, and we'll go to the SWIA National Scholarship Awardees. Dr. Moshe, do you want to introduce?
Yes. So every year, teachers are eligible to apply for and receive scholarship to go off to a national conference. And our first presenters are Lisa and Andy Davis, and they'll talk to you about where they went. And then Jeremy will talk about his scholarship and where he went. Andy and Lisa.
Oh, it's green. It's green. Hello. Yes. All right. We've been in the district quite some time, and over the years, we've applied for the national conference whenever something gets in a city that we want to visit, which we've been selected 4 times. It's the 4th time. So this one was Santa Fe, and Santa Fe in the springtime was glorious. It was spectacular. Maybe my favorite part of the whole trip was the fact that we left here the first day of spring sports. So Carter, you remember first week of spring sports? Horrible weather, right? Snow, everything. We did not see a cloud. We didn't see a cloud. So it was wonderful. Anyway, is mid-school math national conference. So we surrounded ourselves with a bunch of middle school math teachers. That's it. The other ones we've gone to was the national conference through NCTM. So you have teachers all different grade levels, and they're giant. This is a smaller conference of about 600 teachers probably. And so it's way more intimate, and you get to talk to more people, which doesn't sound logical, but because it's smaller, you'd run into people again and again and again and have good conversations. This is downtown Santa Fe, beautiful, walkable city. Go ahead. This is what the countryside looked like. High desert. The elevation of Santa Fe is 7,300 feet. Okay, so I went for a run just because I wanted to punish myself, just to see what it was like. And it did punish me. Okay, go ahead, next slide. Here we go, there's proof. We were there. Proof. Next slide. All right, so this is the website I found. Is we were just looking to see if there's any national conferences that we wanted to attend. Mid-school math put this on. They're the primary people running the show, but the whole schedule is full of just, really cool presentations, and that was the hard part, is picking which one was the right one to go to. And I think we both were pretty successful attending the right things. These 2 people, the gentleman on the right, kind of led the pre-conference deal on Thursday, which was all about equity in a math classroom, which was kind of eye-opening, and it was fun to discuss. And that was about 1/3 of the people that were attending were there at the Thursday. We attended that. The Joe Bowler, who works through Stanford and does ucube.com website, she's a big part of that. You'll see some of her stuff. She was there as well, and one of the primary speakers, keynote speakers throughout the weekend. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so the core curriculum, it's a growth mindset curriculum. I just want to give that a shout out. It was really kind of cool because it's just, well, let me just say this. When I go to a conference, and I think Lisa's the same way, we're just going to try and find some things we can bring home with us, and not a whole shopping cart full of things. It's just some little things that we can maybe add to our tool chest. And this curriculum that kind of ran the whole show, they created a schedule with all kinds of really interesting ways to present math. I will say that over the weekend, talking to people, everybody has the same issue. It doesn't matter if it's an inner city Baltimore school, or a school from the Navajo reservation, or a school from northeastern Montana. I didn't know that anybody lived there, but we met them. But we all have the same issue with engagement. And so all the strategies that were presented to us were all about engagement, and most of them anyway. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so a lot of things that they spoke out towards were these things. One of the things that I like the best of these 5 different mindsets, the one on the right, on the top one on the right, increased mathematics recall with story. The couple of sessions we watched would lead kids into a situation, certain content, by telling a story, having a situation. One of the ones that I did in the session I went to was all about some outbreak that killed people in France years and years before because of groundwater. And so they were dying because of certain wells were contaminated with different things. And there was something we modeled with that. And then that led the kids to, us, the kids, we were the guinea pigs, to working through these problems without a whole lot of direction. So it's just open-ended, and we kind of but we're math people, we could figure it out. But what it led to was like a historical connection to that content in that particular session. So I thought it was really cool. So the storytelling leading into, hey, here you go, give it a shot, see if we can figure this out. And it's just all about that different approach to instead of a sit and get model, it was more of let's discover this. Go ahead, next slide. What do we got next? Okay, now this led to the Joe Bola that you saw up there before. Really a great speaker, and she's involved in this UCube. So one of the things I brought home for me is this website. I'm just scratching the surface of what's there, and trying to include some of that in my own delivery of instruction. That's something I brought home. Okay, now I can't go deep into it right now, but there's 2 or 3 things I pulled off there and used. Go ahead and next slide. There she is. I went to a session and all we had to do was sign a little card and we get a free book. So the free book I'm going to get, or we're both going to get in May, is the Mathish one. Okay, and it's just going to be another cool resource to read, maybe pull a couple things out of. But it was just having a chance to listen to a really kind of leading the pack kind of person with respect to math instruction. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so I just got to include some beautiful things in the city there. That tree we walk by every day, it was so cool. The big stump, and I mean, it's just cool. I'd walk by and I'd kind of check it out, and it's like, that's awesome. And then the cacti, whatever kind of cactus that is, it was in bloom. And we're driving down the road, and it's like, whoa, hey, we got to stop. That's cool looking. So we pull over. And again, going back to national conferences in cool places. That's my suggestion to everybody. Next one. This right here, Palace of Governors, cool building. Every single day, there's native tribes from the area would come sell their wares, the jewelry, there's all kinds of stuff. And it was every day. That building has been a center of government since 1610. You know, let's put that in perspective. We think about the East Coast being the first people here. That was been occupied in a governing building since 1610. So it's cool walking by there, chatting with those people every day was spectacular. Our route to the conference center was just so we can go buy cool stuff like that. Okay, next slide. This was awesome. Our tour guide, our tour director, is Leo lived in New Mexico for some time, in Santa Fe, as a matter of fact, and he gave us some places to go visit. This is a sacred Catholic church north of Santa Fe by about 30 miles, and that's actually a sacred dirt. People would go there and scoop up a little bit of dirt, take it home with them. There was a disclaimer that you're not supposed to eat the dirt, though. I just want to say that. You're supposed to like rub dirt on it. That actually is true. That's what they say. You don't eat the dirt, just rub it on where you need healing. Go ahead, next slide. Oh, one more thing about there. We were walking into a church, and we were walking in right behind another Whidbey Island person. Small world, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm just getting long-winded here. Next one. Okay. Spectacular dinner. It's spectacular. We went with the 4 taco night. We split this. The pulled pork on the right was the least favorite. I think my favorite was the one on the left, the big giant fish taco. But the food in Santa Fe is worth the trip. Okay, so if I haven't convinced you with the great scenery and beauty of the city, go for the food. Next slide. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Lisa. This will probably be shorter than my long-winded version. I know. All right. Hey, carry on, Southwoody. All right.
Okay. I went to all sessions, but the one I went to that I found the most useful immediately was one that was based on building thinking classrooms in mathematics, a book that Kayla brought to us that she's great, that we're all reading. But there we go. But it talks about how problem solving is what we do when we don't know what to do. So right now, a lot of kids, like they have a problem, they don't know what to do, so they just sit there. And so that's kind of what this is about. And it's not the precise application of a known procedure and not the implementation of a taught algorithm. A lot of story problems in our curriculum, if I'm teaching how to do multiplication of fractions, well, guess what? That word problem is going to be multiplying fractions. And so this kind of changes the mindset of how to do this. Next. So in this one, it was called Vertical Spaces, where we have the big whiteboards in our rooms that you guys have been to. But it has different types of tasks that we can give to kids. The first one is a non-curricular task. It could be anything. It's anything that is getting them to have to work together as a team where everybody is heard But those are mostly done at the beginning of the year, encouraging being able to work with anybody and everybody. They're not to any grade level standard, and they can be used throughout the year. So like if something's not going quite right, we go back to that kind of problem. A curricular task is exactly what it sounds like, curricular. It's based on grade level. It can be thin sliced, so a lot of times we'll start with something easy, and they'll work through it to a more difficult level. And the last ones are non-routine problems. And part of UCubed is that, and I have a slide later that has different websites you can use that has more challenging problems. One of the problems that we did in class, the session was, there are 100 lockers, there are 100 people. The first person walks by every locker and opens it. The second person closes every second locker. The third person does the opposite to each of those lockers. The fourth person, it goes on and on and on all the way to 100. And they're saying, okay, how many lockers are still open? Yeah, it was. Okay. Okay. But anyway, so we've done a little bit of all of this year, since I came back, especially. Good. The next thing, a lot of times when like we do boards a lot, we might say something that will stop their thinking instead of encouraging more thinking. A couple of things that this just has a bunch of lists. A lot of ones I'm using, does that make sense? I'm not saying if it's wrong or right. I'm just asking, does it make sense to you guys? Does that answer make sense? Are you asking me or telling me? And they have to pause, they stop, and they're like trying to have to decide, am I? What am I? Am I sure? And one of them is just like smile and walk away. Say something, ask a question, smile, walk away, and make them figure it out. So it's always fun to look at their faces on that one. Next one. So this is something that we've done on boards, and Andy and I both done boards for years. But this gives a more routine way of doing it. So we have in my class, we change desks every Monday, and it's a random drawing pretty much 95% of the time. And they go to boards to do problems, and one person has a marker, only one. And if you have a marker, you are not allowed to help solve a problem. All right, so if you want something to say about how to solve it, you have to give the marker to somebody else, and you have to tell that person exactly what to write. And one of the problem things with this is everyone has something to offer. And a lot of times it's a student who isn't the best at maybe the math algorithm, the multiplication algorithm, but has some thinking skills that they can bring to the table. And make sure everyone understands before moving on. So if they've done a problem, I might go and I say, okay, how did you solve it? The one person always knows the best, wants to say, but I'll ask somebody different. And they cannot sit down until that person can actually explain it. And so they're teaching each other. Those are just some websites that they have, lots of them. That's it. Oh, this is it. When your server asks you if you like red or green sauce, their correct answer is Christmas. I know. It's like,
Oh, awesome. Thank you. We're out.
Thank you very much. And now I'm hungry. Thanks. For math, hungry for math.
Jeremy Fry also attended the ASHA conference in Boston.
So unfortunate. So I totally agree with the attending a conference in an area that you'd like to visit, because that was definitely my experience. So I'd really like to thank SWIA. This was actually a really amazing opportunity, and I've been in the speech field for almost 20 years and have never attended an ASHA conference. So so thanking SWIA, the South Whidbey School Board, and Dr. Mocha for providing me the opportunity to attend this conference in Boston in November. which was, I was a little nervous. I asked Dr. Mocha before I went there, and I was like, I don't know if November is a good time to visit. And she said, it'll be fine. So, and it was great. It was great weather, and so it was filled with a lot of firsts, both professionally and personally. So it's the first time that I've spent any time on the East Coast. So I've flown through there, but never spent any time. First time I've attended any conference like this. It was the first time being in a room with, so the opening ceremony was, they said more than 5,000 people, but the total conference was 14,000. So it was kind of like in direct contrast to the Davis, the crew. So massive conference. So I had the opportunity to connect in person with a lot of vendors and companies that I've been working with. And it was really, I was saying to somebody when I got there, I said, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable just walking up to vendors and snagging things. I've never been to a conference like this. And they said, well, then they have to haul them home. So I was like, all right, well, grab some things. The favorite being a pin light, which I mentioned it to somebody else, and they also had a pin light experience at a conference, which was kind of an amazing thing. So first time walking the Freedom Trail and seeing Old Ironsides, which is also an amazing experience. And amazing the fact that it was built in the 1700s, just phenomenal. You know, food, they talked about food. Food was, you know, a big thing for me and continues to be a big thing. And so I ate, the first day I was there, I ate a cannoli. I didn't even know what a cannoli was. So I ate a cannoli and a lobster roll. And I was hoping somebody, because I said there would be wicked pisses, right? No one actually said that. And when I said that to them, they said, that's not really something we normally say. So I was like, well, all right, well, I don't know. And I don't even know if that's the plural of it. I have no idea, no idea. Getting on to the conference, I know. Well, so then the last thing I would say about food, although I had a lot to say about food, but was, you know, I walked everywhere. I took the train once, but I walked everywhere. So, but what I saw is a lot of Dunkins, and I'm sure you all know this, but I didn't know this, and they call them dunks. And then they also, I asked somebody when I was there, I said, why don't they call them, why doesn't the sign say Dunkin' Donuts? And he said, well, it's just kind of redundant. And I was like, well, I don't know. I've never seen just Dunkin' anyway. So, so when I got into my profession as an SLP, I became interested in social language. So it's called Social Pragmatic Language Challenges. In addition to augmentative and alternative communication, which is called AAC, and had many shared vocabulary concepts that were helpful in a multitude of ways. And at the same time, I noticed a lack of shared vocabulary associated with social pragmatic challenges in the classroom. Getting to something here. It seemed everyone was using their own terms to refer to social concepts in the classroom. With the rise of awareness, an increasing number of students diagnosed with autism and those with entrepreneurial bent, such as Michelle Garcia Winner, rose to the relative fame. Out of that came vocabulary concepts that are now pretty universally shared, such as body in the group, expected versus unexpected behaviors, and the group plan, to name a few. The term shared experience is probably less used, but an important social concept to connect with others that have had similar experiences to your own, a skill we all employ almost every day in social situations. So I expected to have many shared experiences with other professionals at the conference, and indeed I did. We talked about methodology, weird rooms that we end up being in, and then, you know, similarities with therapy stories, some of which probably shouldn't be repeated. Just very strange stuff. So what I did not expect from this experience, though hoped, is to have a shared experience with schools and school districts. So something that was universal. I sometimes see South Whidbey as a relatively isolated place, being an island that has successes and challenges unique unto itself. And what I found in talking to others is that we as a district have more shared experiences than not. Beyond the medically focused sessions, so this conference really about half of it, 2/3 of it is really medically focused. But I thought as I was scrolling through the list, the one that stood out to me as the most ironic was there was a session that was called New Billing Codes for 2024, and it had an exclamation point. And I was thinking, this is just wild. Such liberal use of an exclamation point, I think. And glad I didn't have to deal with that. So my focus centered on attending sessions that had aspects of inclusion and the broad category of mental health. And in addition to learning more about stuttering and the latest way to teach the R sound, which is always fun and interesting. Of the 14 sessions I attended, about half included aspects of both inclusion and mental health, and some directly dealt with one or the other. And focusing on the challenges discussed include trauma, parent and family instabilities, homelessness, community support, and the incredible need to connect with not only students, but their families, which we all know. I mean, all of this is kind of, as I went through this conference, realizing that this is things that we talk about every day, but knowing that you're in an environment and in situations that others have dealt with in a different way, there's a lot of similarities. So that to me was really interesting. So both large and small districts alike are directly impacted by these challenges, resulting often in students that have difficulty just getting to school, much less being able to be in the class and learn. The key takeaway is connecting with students as well as their families and thinking outside the box. Indeed, we all have a role to play in the well-being of the students in our care that extends far beyond our stated roles and our respective positions in school. I don't know if this is new information, but I came out of this experience with a renewed passion for supporting students and families. It takes time to build this culture and way of thinking. It really starts with one student and one situation at a time. So thank you very much. This is a great opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. It's always great to see what our staff are doing to improve their own knowledge and better serve our students. So thank you very much. Now I believe it looks like we've got South Whidbey Cares Coalition all set, all technical difficulties settled. Take it away.
Okay. I'm Lori Johnson with the South Whidbey Cares Coalition, and we're going to talk briefly tonight just a little bit about what that is, and then we left a reasonable amount of time to talk the Healthy Youth Survey. So the South Whidbey Cares Coalition is a substance use prevention and mental health promotion coalition focused on youth. And so can you go to the next slide maybe? Okay, maybe go back one. Thanks. So we're a group of community, both agencies, and you can see that many different sectors. We partner really closely with the Langley Police Department, the school district, Island County Public Health and Human Services, And we have people on our team from treatment and recovery. We have youth, parents, businesses, healthcare, and a new mental health person. And Readiness to Learn is our youth serving organization. We do have a couple of vacancies in the media and religious and fraternal sectors. However, we appreciate all voices, and you don't have to fit into one of those 12 sectors in order to participate. And we like to have more than one of those sectors at the table. So that being said, the coalition is grant funded through the Healthcare Authority, which came from basically our state is funding the Community Prevention and Wellness Initiative. And that money is doled out essentially to communities that have certain risk factors, one being substance use and community disorganization. I think there's 81 communities now that are receiving funds for CPWI. The South Louis School District is the fiscal agent for this grant, and the Northwest ESD is our cohort of that provides direct service in the schools, which I'm sure that you've heard of. Cindy Edlund, who is our student assistance professional. She's also on the coalition, and she is available for substance use prevention and intervention. And she's just a really great trusted adult for students. Not on our. So let's go back one to the SPIF. This is the strategic prevention framework, and this is one of the frameworks that we use that the Healthcare Authority walks us through, and it's derived from SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health. I can't remember the next two. Administration. And so as we go through this, like right now we're in the assessment portion. So we have our coalition, which we're constantly, the getting started is constantly evolving. We're bringing on new partners, building capacity, and always doing outreach, attending other events, really finding where our work intersects with other community organizations. And so right now we're in the assessment process. You want to go to the next one? There. So this is a lot of the data points that we use, one being the Healthy Youth Survey. But we don't just look at that one data point or many data points within the Healthy Youth Survey. We really look at a broad spectrum of data. And that tells us sort of like what youth are experiencing through self-reporting and hospital data. The community survey is an adult perception survey that's related to substance use and just behavioral health in general. And so every year we have administered that survey to the community. The Healthcare Authority thankfully went to an every other year administration of that survey because it's during survey season and it's a little cumbersome to not get confused with everyone else trying to access what the community is thinking or experiencing. The Department of Health is a huge asset to us, as well as Island County Public Health and Human Services. The community health assessment is happening right now, and I'm sure that you have seen it come across your desk multiple times for the survey through social media and what have you. So if you haven't taken that survey, it is still available. But that sort of helps us determine all of these data points help us determine like what strategies are a best fit for the risk and protective factors in our community. So, yeah. In a moment, Taylor's going to walk us through some of the healthy use survey data and how we sort of look at that. Oh, so building capacity is probably one of the things that I spend the most amount of time on, and that's building relationships, primarily with other organizations and building trust, which takes time and but is what makes this work. So this also involves mobilizing humans, organizing and pooling financial resources so that we can all meet our shared goals. Get a ton of training opportunities, and we can provide training to like say the school district or other entities. We have provided, I think, a trauma training a few years ago. And so if there's things that people are interested in or feel great concern about, it's something that we're open to hearing and determining if that's within our sphere of influence. Okay, so program implementation, right now we are doing the drug take back and increasing access to permanent disposal in our community for prescription medication. Right now, the one place that is really open to the public is Rite Aid in Freeland. And that's the only kiosk that is open to the public during reasonable hours. Otherwise, you can go to the Langley City Hall, which may or may not be open, or someone will have to come out and take your medication, and it just has some barriers. The also the South Precinct in Freeland, you can do the same, and probably has even more barriers because they aren't always manned. There isn't always someone fully available to accept your medication. And during our takebacks, our most common experience is that someone rolls up with a gallon-sized Ziploc bag with, you know, like a half to 2/3 full of medication because a family member has passed, or they've, you know, like sort of been collecting in the medicine cabinet. Most often, I would say that it's because someone in their family has no need for this medication anymore. And so we would really like to prevent that from going into our water system, and also just not hanging around. Some of it, not all of it, is opioids or narcotics, but any kind of mental health, blood pressure, you know, you name it, is really not something that we want anyone taking that was not prescribed to them. Drug take back. Oh, right. We're partnering with other organizations. We have for the last couple of years to provide a safety and wellness fair. So we'll have the fire department and several different people from the county. There would be women, infant, and children, opioid outreach. Someone else, I think, from Human Services, and then we have Critters and Company bringing some pets to pet on, and we don't know what those are. Could be reptiles, it could be kittens, we don't know. And Whidbey Island Nourishes is going to pop us some popcorn, and just like trying to move away from this, you know, like 3 or 4 people coming with large bags of medication to drop off and then leaving, but try to create a little bit more of a sense of community, and each person that's coming offers some sort of fun, friendly activity for families to participate in. There will be face painting and rock painting. The WSU Extension Suicide Prevention will be there. And youth are going to be facilitating some rock painting. So we never know just how big it's gonna get, but some people shy away from the rain, and that's okay. We'll still be there. So we'll be at the community center in the back of the building, under the big Madrona and aside to the big Madrona. If you have any medication or just want to come join us. That's this Saturday from 10 to 2. There should be another, yeah. And that's you probably have seen these around. That's Mr. Remington advertising the drug take back. So that's it for me. Then
Will the dog be at the event? This is really important.
it's likely.
Okay, I think this just sweetened the deal for me.
Yeah.
He's kind of become a mascot. So, yeah, almost guarantees. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for this opportunity. I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize in advance. But today I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a snippet, almost bite-sized information from the Healthy Youth Survey. As you can imagine, or are probably aware, there's so much information that's collected in this survey, so I could talk with you for hours. And so my hope from this is that we could talk through a few pieces and then kind of walk away with food for thought and then maybe questions. And Lori and I are more than happy to come back and present more or different information as well. I tried to, and Lori and I really worked together to highlight things that align really well with our coalition, as well as what you may have seen from the state level kind of press release on positivity around changes between last Healthy Youth Survey and this one, just to kind of highlight some things that we're really working on and we can see change over time. And so our student participation, as you can see here, we have a little bit less when it comes down to 11th and 12th graders. And I actually have the notes here on my side so they're very close and on par with 2021. I'd say that there was a pretty good increase in the 10th grade participation from 70% to 89% in 2023. The others are pretty close to about the same. And then this is a little transition slide. I will say, just to preface, that I removed the slide about perceived risks, but I'm happy to give an overview of that. But then we'll walk through availability of substances, perceived risks of using substances, which I'll provide that overview, and then the substance use rates as a whole for South Obie kiddos. So this is a question that is asked in the Healthy Youth Survey that asks how kiddos feel as substances are very hard to get. And so I did a comparison, and this will be consistent almost throughout all the slides, trying to compare between 21 and 23. And so as you can see, in these categories include a combination of 10th grade and 12th grade. So you can see that there's been an increase overall in students reporting that they feel as though each of these substances are very hard to get, so that you could kind of mull on that, think about what that means in terms of the work that we're doing to try to increase awareness and also support our kids. Substance use reported among high schoolers. So the big arrow suggests, and we've seen this actually throughout the years, which has been really hopeful, a decrease in substance use reported by high schoolers. And this is across the state and in our county as a whole, but I think particularly so in South Obie, we see a decrease across the board. As you can see, there's a little bit of an increase in prescription drug use, and that's at about a percentage. So overall, not an increase to be concerned about, but something to note that not all have decreased. But as you can see, alcohol use has decreased and also marijuana use has decreased quite a bit. And then this was it's a lot of information, so I apologize, but really what I wanted to hone in on is the light blue for alcohol use. Kiddos reporting that they're not drinking at all has increased. since the last, or 2021. And then students who've reported any kind of problematic or heavy drinking, and I can actually provide that definition. Problematic drinking is 3 to 5 days in the past 30 days and or one-time binge drinking. And then heavy drinking is 6 or more days in the past 30 days or 2 or more binge drinking events. So we can see that there's been an increase in the students who are reporting no drinking at all, and a decrease in the students who are reporting problem or heavy drinking. And then, yes, so I mentioned before we move on to the next slide, the perceived risks. We've really been hopeful, and I'm happy to provide this information offline or in the next presentation. I'm sorry that the slide got dropped, but the perceived risks around marijuana use and these e-cigarettes has increased. So kids are recognizing that there is a risk to using, and those measures are different between the types of use. So for marijuana use, it's regular use of marijuana, and e-cigarettes is daily use of e-cigarettes. And that's kind of how it's asked in the survey. But students are reporting that they feel that there is a high risk for using those substances on a daily basis or a regular basis. And then this next section really looks at our school climate, protective factors around that, and then hope, which that's really my passion, is where hope really comes into play in so many different ways. And I'd be more than happy to come back and kind of give that analysis of when we're looking at levels of hope, how that can protect students and honestly anybody across the lifespan from engaging in risky or harmful behaviors. So for high schoolers reporting opportunities for school involvement, most students continue to report that they have opportunities for school involvement. We see a little bit of a decrease between the years, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't celebrate the fact that a large majority of our students are feeling that they have opportunities to engage in school.
Find that the 2021 was, just post-COVID.
Right.
And the survey with that.
High schoolers feeling safe at school. There hasn't been much of a change, and also something to celebrate because a large majority of South Libby students feel safe. Responses about bullying. So this is also a lot of information, I apologize, but down at the bottom are the questions that are asked. So students are asked if they've been bullied in the last 30 days, if students know how to report bullying, and if they feel that their school tries to stop bullying. And as you can see, bullying hasn't changed, so that's something we can work towards improving, but that those protective factors around bullying have increased. So students feel that they know how to report bullying more, and that they feel as schools are trying to stop bullying more. And then high schoolers reporting not skipping school. So most students still report that they did not skip school in the past month. So this is on kind of a scale. The question asks 0 days, 1 to 2. I think it's 3 to 4, and then 4+. And so this is looking just at that 0 and no kids skipping school. That has actually decreased, but still about the same. And then enjoyment. So this is hard because I feel like enjoyment is very subjective as a whole. So I would be inclined to perhaps ask students more deeply about this and what brings them enjoyment before kind of coming to the conclusion that there is no enjoyment in school. But I do think that it is something to celebrate that we're moving upwards, even if it is just a little bit, and that there's opportunities here to explore it a little bit further for students.
Can I comment about student enjoyment real quick?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times asking about enjoyment of school, people think of it as a whole, but if you ask about specific classes or like seeing their friends, then you'll get a lot higher number of kids saying they enjoy going to school. Because for me personally, it's one of the only times I get to see my friends, so I enjoy going to school. But then when I think about doing my schoolwork, doing my homework, sitting in class, my enjoyment level drops. So I think having more specific questions instead of just enjoyment of school as a whole might be nice.
That's
And-
excellent. Yeah.
I would also say I think students get a little bit pessimistic during long surveys, and we'll just kind of like, am I really enjoying this right now? Like the survey, then they immediately go to no, and it's not quite reminiscent of the actual culture.
And there's our student representatives giving a good example for our new student representative of speaking truth. Thank you.
Yes.
Ah. Awesome too, because I think from my perspective and also Lori's, we have opportunities to go to our state level partners and say, this is our feedback about the Healthy Youth Survey and how we should try to make it better or more accessible, or what can we do to improve it in the future. So excellent points. Thank you so much for sharing. And then, as I mentioned, my favorite is hope. Hope reflects a future-oriented mindset and motivational process towards attaining a desirable goal. Research has linked hope with overall physical, psychological, and social well-being. And I would say that there's a lot of imagination in hope. Being able to see a future is really important for anybody in any stage of life. So it's really a creative way of not only feeling hopeful by just measuring and asking folks about it, but opportunities for us to really hone in on what makes people hopeful in the first place.
The hope scale is also driven by agency and pathways. And so I don't know if any of you are familiar with Chan Hellman's work, but he's sort of he's with the University of Oklahoma, and hope is based off of if you have the agency, if you have a goal in mind and you have the agency to get there and the pathway, and you know the pathway to get there, then you have hope. And if you don't have one of either of those, your life is a little less hopeful because you are probably not going to get to where you want to go. Anyway, the book he has a really great book called Hope Rising. We did a book study on it in the coalition, and I highly suggest it.
I just wanted to, this is a little bit interesting way of looking at it, but to celebrate the fact that students have been reporting more, feeling more highly hopeful, moderately hopeful. And this is just the beginning. I feel like, as I mentioned before, there are so many opportunities for us to look at different elements of the survey itself, different questions, and compare them to the hope that students are feeling. And that's a way of analyzing not just overall how our students are feeling, but perhaps students that we really want to pay more attention to, or students who we're feeling may need a little bit more support for various reasons. We can actually do that analysis to see where hope is lying in their lives. And then that gives us a lot of opportunity, right, to really think about how we can instill hope in students.
We just did a recap on some of the substance use prevention House bills and legislation that came through. This was just kind of an end slide from another deck, but we can talk about it if you'd like. This morning, I had a learning community meeting with the Healthcare Authority that watches closely to the legislation and not only substance use, but also school-related things. And so we're constantly sort of looking at how we can impact that and bring more younger voice and ask our legislators good questions. Not lobbying, of course, just education. pretty much it for us. Oh, I do want to say that at the Safety and Wellness Fair, there'll be naloxone and training for those who would like to come by and see the opioid outreach person, Laurel. She's going to be our primary person on the south end. She's young and super fun, and it's just a really great resource, education and outreach. I did want to say one more thing. Chan Hellman, his quote is, "The hope is the belief that tomorrow will be better than today, and that you have the power to make it so." So we play a part in our level of hope.
Thank you very much for the presentation and sharing not only what you're doing locally, but what you're seeing among our youth locally. I really appreciate the comparisons year to year. I think that that's really valuable to see what progress we are or aren't making. I want to open it up to questions from anyone up here on the dais if they have anything.
I'm just curious. I'm not sure if you have this information at hand or if you have this information at all, but it looked as though 1 in 5 high school students reports not feeling safe at school. And I'm wondering if that was in the context of bullying or physical safety or the broader culture, or if it was just a question absent context.
Yeah, I believe there are different domains for how kiddos feel safe at school. So it was a combined measurement of it. So it falls under the realm of like handguns at school and feeling that kind of violence or safety, and then also bullying as a form of safety. But I'm happy to, we can look at the question specifically and pull out what those measures actually.
I also think that there's other tools that we
The CEE that we just
Yeah.
got also has that, as well as our SEL-based ones that we ask, so.
Yeah, I have some access to data that I can go back and look at, so you don't need to do any more research on my account. But it's an interesting and alarming statistic. Thank you for raising it to our attention.
There's an earlier slide where you showed a whole bunch of different data sets. I'm curious if you have correlated what you saw in Health Youth Survey with some of those other data sets as it applies to youth, and if so, what trends you're seeing.
Are you referring to the slide that showed multiple, like the Department of Health and yeah?
Yeah.
So we're just starting our data process, or our assessment process. And so like the community health survey, is just wrapping up. So we haven't taken and looked at all of the different pieces. The different data comes in at different times. So overall, we haven't completed our assessment. It's kind of an ongoing process, so it will continue, but I can certainly get back to you if there's something that comes up for youth. Most of the data that we receive, like the hospital data, it's all protected. Like there's not going to be a differentiation between youth. Even with like EMS data and response, there's no differentiation. And so it's hard to sort of dial in on what is exactly impacting youth in some of those bigger data sets. So for the most part, it's self-reporting and also, having conversations with young people about what they're experiencing to give us that sort of clue to what is going on primarily with youth.
No, I'd say maybe the most opportunistic connection would be between the community survey that the coalition puts on, where asks from a parent or guardian, or if you have any youth in your life, kind of very similar questions about access to access to substances,
Like how wrong you think it is for youth to use, how dangerous it is, how accessible you think alcohol is for young people. Just like the Healthy Youth Survey delineates, like one of the questions is, where are you, like accessing this? Are you stealing it? Are you getting it from your siblings? Are you getting it from your parents? Are you, like standing outside the grocery store, like how are you obtaining these substances? The community survey asks similar questions. So from that, like adjacent to youth. So you don't have to be a parent, but grandparent or have youth in your life or a youth focused organization.
Overall, though, I'd say the Healthy Youth Survey is probably one of the only surveys that we have available for youth as a whole, that we can do comparisons between state or different school districts or counties. It's very unique in that way.
I might suggest, if you aren't already, taking a look at the CEE data that we get each year, because that's asks many of the same questions, but also some adjacent ones that could be very helpful.
It is on our list. Thank you.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Just going to say that our next meeting, we focus on the CEE data. And I don't want to say it's 20% of our students not feeling safe in the way that was asked. We're still running at about 85% of our youth feeling that there is an adult to turn to. We haven't really pushed it above that. So we may find some consistencies there, which is definitely an opportunity.
So I wanted to ask if there were any measures in the Healthy Youth Survey that you found particularly concerning, surprising, or good victories to look at.
Well, it wasn't included in here, and I'd actually have to look at Southfield B, but I know for Island County, we've seen the kiddos are feeling that they have more connections with positive role models in their life, whether that's their parents, people in their community, their schools. I'd be happy to look at Southfield B for that as well. Man, I feel like just in general, as much as we are celebrating that there have been changes in mental health and we see a little bit of an upward trajectory towards positive mental health, it's still a concern. I think that that's something that's just going to be ongoing that we need to hone in on, and perhaps looking at it more from the prevention side in any way possible. That's creating spaces like we do in all of our workplaces to foster mental health as like a part of our health, not so much like a deficit, and so I know that work's already happening, and so I don't want to diminish that at all, but I think that that would be probably still on the top of the list of concerns.
I would agree. I think that, we had some pretty big dips, and we went through a really difficult and challenging time, and we're not going to just swing back from that as quickly as we'd all like to be back to normal. But we've made some really good strides. And I think the connections that students have at school, as well as just healthy adults in their life, like most students are connected. That doesn't mean we don't increase that or we don't focus on the youth that don't. In fact, that gives us a really great opportunity to dive a little deeper and make connections strategically. And I know that the middle school and high school have talked about that very, specifically, and are making a valiant effort to connect with all students. And I think that shows. I think we see that. And across our county, we've, allocated more funds. There's more people available. And I think that adults really care about the mental health of our youth and make an effort to show up.
Thank you both. I always want to make sure that we're trying to figure out what the experts are concerned about, surprised about, want to celebrate, because we can try to make our own conclusions, but we want to listen to the people who know what they're talking about. So thank you.
Speaking of which, given what you've seen in the data, do you have any recommendations for the district for high impact things that we can either continue doing, stop doing if they're ineffective, or start doing?
And if you don't have them right now, an email would be great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that can also come at a later date.
Well, I won't go into too much detail, but I think that really evaluating like policies and procedures with the lens of substance use prevention and mental health promotion is really valuable. And there's someone that's available at no cost because she's part of our North Sound region resource through the youth cannabis commercial tobacco prevention program. And Tammy D, she's working with the Coopville School District right now and has worked with several school districts through the region. And basically, like her role is to look at the strengths of the policies and procedures and then see where maybe there's a couple of tweaks that might enhance that in a prevention framework.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both very much. We'll move on to our student board members report.
All right, so it's week right now in the high school, which is a very exciting week. And whenever there's a week that any activity falls on a Friday or a Saturday, there's usually a spirit week that goes with it.
Monday was Camo Day, which had a large turnout. Same with yesterday was PJ Day, which also had a very large turnout.
And today's color block day. So the seniors were red, the juniors were pink, and wrong color right now, but that's okay. The sophomores were orange and the freshmen were yellow. So our prom theme this year is golden hour. So our colors were all having to do with the sunset and golden hour.
I'm on color today, but tomorrow is my favorite, beach day. So it's like Hawaiian t-shirts and stuff. And Friday's gonna be blue and white.
And then we'll have the dance on Saturday, which everyone is looking forward to. And it's always a really fun time of the year. Yesterday and tomorrow and the next week, Tuesday and Thursday, is SBAC testing, which is mostly the sophomores. And it's just a long state testing that you have to get through. But I applaud everyone that has to take it. We also had Rainbow Prom, which is the GSA Club and the Queer and Trans Club. Both participated in that. This year it was held in Coopville. So every year it kind of rotates where it's held on the island, which is really great to see different clubs at different schools come together to create an inclusive environment for everyone. It is in the middle of spring sports season. Right now, every team is having a really great season, and it's really great to see how far the Falcons have come. And just like every single game has a great turnout, great events, everyone's doing fantastic. Soccer won yesterday, a 3-1 win over Northwest, and it was our senior night, so it's always great to win on your senior night. Today is baseball senior night, but I'm not quite sure how they did. Model UN sent, it got rained out? Well, I think they still had their senior celebrations. Model UN had one delegate attend King Bun, which is a 2-day conference in Seattle. So that was really cool to see just participants, even if a full delegation doesn't attend. We have our new student rep, and we had over 325 votes, which was a really impressive turnout. And I'm really excited to see the future of the position. 6th grade through 12th graders were allowed to vote, and 8th graders through 10th graders were allowed to run. So it was really great to see who ran, who was interested, and just how many people voted and were participating in the whole election process. Tonight is the National Honor Society induction ceremony for the 23 new members, including both of my fellow student reps here. And then Math Olympiad went to state for their high school team, and one of the teams placed second, which is really cool to see. So really great events in the high school.
Today, actually, Spanish Club had their bake sale, and I believe they were funding, from what I heard, funds for Guatemala. Wait. Ki-
It's it's like this, it's a fund to help like developing countries and like people in developing countries to like start their own businesses and or like build their own homes to provide safe like just living.
The middle school also had their first track meet, which was kind of really cool to see. When I was there, there was just like a whole sea of blue amongst a couple, like maybe like a couple of Coopville kids or something. It was fun. But then middle school also has testing, which is not as fun. They had their movie night. They also had incoming ninth graders running for ASB, which is really cool to see that middle school is carrying on with the ASB and getting involved in things. The Student Olympics are underway, which I'm glad to see that going again. My like junior middle school Olympics got canceled in 6th grade because of COVID, so it's really cool to see that still going. In the elementary school, students 4th through 5th are currently on a 2-night trip at Camp Kirby, which I think is really cool. History Club started up with South Whidbey Historical Society, teaching students about history on South Whidbey. This is a really cool club. I actually went and visited and sat in on it. It was really fun to see just how they were learning about things. They had a whole bunch of fossils there and mammoth stuff, which it was really fun to see.
The middle school Olympics, I remember doing that in 7th grade, and that was one of my highlights of middle school PE. My team placed 3rd, and I'm very proud of us. So I can't wait to see that future kids get to do it post-COVID.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our student reps?
How is Hot Wheels Club going? I'm curious if people have had their Hot Wheels taken, or if everything's copacetic.
I haven't heard much from them. I've heard getting into the club is pretty difficult. A couple people have been lost their induction race and not been able to go. So it's a pretty elite thing to be able to get in.
I was curious, is prom open to everyone, or do you have to be a junior or senior or going with someone? Or
You have to be a junior or senior. However, underclassmen are allowed to go with an upperclassman.
just pure curiosity on that one. Thank you. And do you know how many candidates there were for the student rep spot?
There were 4, and all 4 of them were really talented and really great candidates, and it was a very close race, which I was excited to see.
Wonderful. So I'm actually really interested in the close experience there between Carter's interview process, where we had 5 people and they were all excellent. So it's interesting to see that similar numbers coming through each method. Thank you very much. We'll move on to celebrating our outgoing student representative, Dr. Moshe.
Well, you have made this position on the board as a student rep really something, and that's why so many people are applying to be a student rep. So thank you. We do have a gift for you, Katya, for your, hopefully you will enjoy. It's a thank you that you've truly made a difference. And there's some really cool stuff in there if you want to open it and share with the community what we've provided. What are you pointing at? Oh, it's up on the board too. Oh, and cupcakes to share. Thank you, Christy. I forgot all about the cupcakes. And the cupcakes have a beautiful logo on the top, and that I have to give Christy the credit for that. And I'm sure board members have wonderful things to say, but Katya, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and learning more about the needs of students. And you and Audrey started it, and you and Carter have picked it up, and I'm sure Callahan and Carter are going to take us to the next level even. So thank you.
Thank you. This is an opportunity. I'm so excited that I did, and I'm so looking forward to the future. And next year, I'm planning to minor in public policy because of the work I've done in the last 2 years. So I'm really excited for that.
Well, I just want to echo what Dr. Moshe said, and thank you so much for your service. And it's been so interesting and wonderful to watch you grow here. I've known you since you were a smaller human, and just seeing your leadership potential bloom into the work you do now, and you feel so comfortable in so many different elements of this work. And it's been amazing to watch you and other youth work in interdistrict constructs together. Not only in your work on the school board, but also in your other life as a student. And so I just want to say I appreciate you a lot, and I cannot wait to see what your future looks like.
Yeah, I haven't known you as long, although I should have because I've known your mom for a long time. But I am just so impressed with your growing maturity and strength of character and clarity of voice. I really see you growing into such a diplomatic and powerful and wise young woman. So thank you so much for sharing some of those qualities with us for this time on this board.
I have a lot of appreciation for how you've taken the student rep updates to the next level. I really feel like you've captured the voice across all grade levels, athletics, academics. It seems like there's no stone unturned. And I really feel like that came from your leadership, just to see it getting better and better over the past 2 years. So thank you so much for that.
I've also enjoyed getting to know you, and not just the educational side of you, but the personal side of you. I did watch all of season 4 of The Crown because of your conversation in the Suburban. And it was good. So I am super excited to hear about public policy. You're going to love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I want to express my appreciation for the way you've approached this role, not just growing your own capabilities. I've seen you take on getting input from others and synthesizing it and getting better at both parts of that and really showing leadership in that, but also in looking beyond our school, not just bringing the voice of our students to this board, but supporting the voice of students across the state. And I think that power that you've, I don't know if it's discovered or uncovered or always had and just had a chance to express, I think that will do you very well out in the real world, as it were. And I'm very excited to see what you're doing, and I'm very glad that you were able to share these 2 years with us. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We're going to take just a few-minute break so that folks who would like cupcakes can go grab them and then come back, and then we'll get moving through the rest of our agenda. So please. we're going to come back in about a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us in celebrating Katya, and we will move on with our agenda now. Thank you. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to public comments. Folks have 5 minutes if they're in person and 5 minutes if they're typing something up online. If you are on Zoom, now that we have a few folks following along on Zoom and would like to make public comment, please enter your name and location in the Q&A function, send it on into us, and then start typing up what you'd like read. That just lets us know that you have anything to say. Ms. McCarr, do we have anyone signed up here?
Just me.
Please.
Wearing another hat for the band, the Performing Arts Booster. Yeah, for the Performing Arts Boosters, the middle school and the high school jazz bands will be doing their spring swing dance. And that's going to be on May 11th, Saturday. And we just want to invite the board and public, because it's open to everyone, to come and join. The middle school jazz band will be playing at the South Whidbey Schools Foundation Gala next weekend. And so this is the following one. So
Thank you very much for sharing that information with us. I'm not seeing anyone who's using the Q&A function on Zoom to join in, so we'll move past public comment. On to new business. Our first item is Memorandum 2324-24, approval of Resolution 682, Program Reduction Resolution. Dr. Moshe, if you'd like to address that.
As we spoke about at the last meeting, in the event that we have to reduce, we know we have to reduce budget, and it may require us to reduce staff. And this resolution allows the superintendent to do that should the need arise. We are not there yet to say whether or not we will need to, but this allows us to do that should we have to.
Thank you very much. Debate, discussion among the board.
Just to reiterate something that's been shared before, the timing of this is important because of the way that annual contracts work and the way notice is required to be given at certain stages during the end of the school year, correct?
That's correct. We are obligated to let teaching staff in particular know by May 15th whether or not they are employed. And by June 1st, if we've not given notice, they have a contract and we would have to fulfill that contract. So it is a timeliness issue.
Thank you.
Okay. I will ask for our student advisory votes. If you'd like to register your votes now, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-24, approval of Resolution 682, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2324-25, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 1330, administration in the absence of policy or decree. This is one of the ones that we worked on at our last workshop, just changing minor wording. Comments or questions or discussion on this? Student representatives, could we have advisory votes, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-25, the approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 1330, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2324-26, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 2151, interscholastic activities. This is another one that was mostly just wording changes. There were a few more that we discussed at the workshop about the differences between athletic participants and other interscholastic participants. Any comments, discussion? Okay. I know this is the first time Callahan's seeing this, so I'll give a moment to scroll through that. I see that our student reps are presenting the information there. And I will note that if any of our student reps ever feel that they are unqualified to, or unwilling, or do not want to vote, have an advisory vote, you may always abstain. Do I have advisory votes from our three student reps?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-26, the approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 2151, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Memorandum 2324-27, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 5231, length of workday. Surprise, surprise, another minor wording update that we discussed at our last board workshop. Any discussion to be had? Advisory votes from our student representatives, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-27, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 5231, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. Memorandum 2324-28, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 6625, private vehicle transportation. This is the last of these minor update ones, just some wording changes that we discussed at our last workshop. Any comments, discussion? Okay. Advisory votes for our student representatives, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-28, approval of the update to South Whidbey School District Policy 6625, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Memorandum 2324-28 has been approved. Memorandum 2324-29, approval of Resolution 683, Unlimited Tax General Obligation Bonds 2024. Dr. Moshe, if you'd like to explain this one.
So as you know, we passed a bond, and that was back in November. This is actually the resolution that allows us to draw, to sell bonds, which brings the money into the district. It's required that to do this, we have a general idea of what that money will be spent on and how much money will be required. So we know that. And it's $30 million, and we're requesting that the board pass this resolution so that those bonds can be sold in June and that cash can come into the district. As the board knows, as was sent to them, the information has come from our counsel on this matter, bond counsel. And should you have any questions about this, they are available. We can get them on the Zoom call. But I think the board didn't have any further questions other than what was answered by the resolution itself.
Is there any discussion or debate or questions to be had on this one? Okay, I'll ask for our advisory votes, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-29, approval of Resolution 683, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Our final new business item for the evening, Memorandum 2324-30, approval of Resolution 684, waiver application 180-day school year requirement. We had a separate version of this. Dr. Moshe, if you'd like to explain this new one.
So several weeks ago, we put before the board a waiver request that went to OSPI for emergency school closure days. Had 3 emergency school closures, and at this time, it requires us to come back to school on Monday, June 17th and Tuesday, June 18th, and the teacher day would be June 20th. It is probably not the most productive instructional time for our students to come back, nor would it be wise for us to have to pay for the holiday, because Juneteenth is a holiday and we were not expecting to go to work through that holiday. So OSPI, I was surprised that they declined, because there was a state of emergency declared in Snohomish County, in Whatcom County, and in Skagit County, and we are located in Island County, and that state of emergency was not declared, despite the same frozen pipes, despite the same snow, et cetera, et cetera. So because it was not a declared state of emergency in our county, the OSPI declined the waiver. What they did say, however, is that we could do a lot more paperwork and defend our use of our professional development days. And we've done that, and many thanks to the admin team, specifically Kayla, for really dotting I's and crossing T's. Hopefully, all of the data will meet the definition of having those professional development days indicated as part of the 180 days. If that happens, if this is approved, then school would end for students on the 14th of June, which is a Friday, and teachers would be required to report on Monday the 17th, which has been our calendar all along. If they don't approve this waiver, then we go to school through the 20th. So I know everyone really wants this waiver to be approved. So that is the request, and part of the approval process is that that I not only communicate with all of the groups, which I have communicated with the teachers union as well as the administrative team, but it also requires the board to approve a resolution. So that's what's in front of you tonight. Long story short, hopefully this meets your expectations, and I can submit it tomorrow, which reminds me, if the board in fact does approve this, please go in and sign board orders before you go home tonight so that this can be submitted first thing in the morning.
Any comments or questions or discussion?
I know students, when it comes to June 17th and 18th, are completely checked out for the summer. So it's a lot better if we have the time now and the teachers can have that useful time instead of just having students go to school when they're not going to be productive.
Thank you. And I'd also like to thank, as you said, the administrative team for putting in the time and effort to update this or put together this new application. Okay. Could I have advisory votes from our students, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 2324-30, approval of Resolution 684, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has passed. That concludes our new business for the evening. We'll move on to our reports. Since Mr. Poolman is not here, we're going to combine our financial and enrollment report and superintendent's report. Dr. Moshe.
So you have seen the enrollment report and the financial report, and nothing really has changed from last month, other than we're a month further along in our expenses and revenue. So I don't feel the need, unless you have any questions, to go into the detail that Mr. Poolman would go into on his financial report. I will move on to the superintendent's report. I'm really happy that we have Paul Field on board as our Director of Finance, and we have Scott Peacock on board as Director of District Operations. I think it really puts us in a good situation to transition away from Mr. Poolman, which none of us really want to do, but we will do it. And we will be fine. And I really think that we found two really good candidates for our district. Also happy to report that we're continuing to work on bond issues. Right now, we've submitted our permit applications to Island County for all of the summer work. So fingers crossed that we'll actually get to do summer work this summer. And the planning continues. So at some point, probably in September, there will be a report to the board at that time as to where we are and what the future looks like. Other than that, I really don't have a lot on the superintendent's report. So that concludes the financial and superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Director Jackson, do you have a legislative report? Oh, you just turned it off.
Sorry, nothing to report at this time. Thank you. With the legislative session behind us, I've become less curious on that topic, although it's time for me to reach out and give our gratitude and encouragement to our legislators between sessions.
And if you'd like a second voice in any of that, please let me know.
Thank you.
Any other board comments or reports from any of our board members? I'd like to note that we do have an upcoming community forum that will be a presentation, a couple of little short presentations on what the district is doing in its various capacities, board, the district itself, and the bond. Some guided or some topic-specific conversations, and then a general purpose Q&A. That will be May 15th, Wednesday, May 15th at 6:30 in the new commons of the middle high school. Please, if you, the Falcon's Nest, no, the Cougar Den, that would be the Cougar Den. Sorry, showing my age by calling it the new commons. If you want to engage with the district on a wide variety of topics, this is a fantastic opportunity to do so, and we highly encourage folks to come and engage at that time. I'm very much looking forward to, we just finished our bond steering committee, as Dr. Moshe mentioned. I'm very much looking forward to seeing some work done at both campuses this summer. Some playground work, at least here, some work on the entry at the middle high school, and the first phase of the courtyard revamp at the middle high school as well. That's our hope for what we can do this first summer. A lot of it, as Dr. Moshe said, is contingent upon requiring permits, and anything more than that takes a lot more permitting. Anything else? Okay. Following the adjournment of this meeting, the board will go into executive session for no more than 45 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.